Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Ryan is talking, but we can't hear his voice, unfortunately.
Sorry, because I'm doing the intro. If I do that, you can hear me talk. So it's when I was saying it's Wednesday night. You know what that means? It's time for the Mark Order Podcast. Again, this is what happens when I host. It all goes to hell. It's not wrong in the chat. It all goes to hell when I host. It's me, Ryan. I'm joined by Joe. There's no Kate tonight. She's traveling for Mania. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's been a fast week and a busy week, but you know, it's a fun week at least for wrestling. So, how about you?
Good. I'm good. Preparing for. I'm not really doing a lot for the Mania stuff, but I got a couple things. But it's more than I would typically do, so I guess I'm preparing for that.
Well, you have
Finishing
what?
up my
You have
burger.
Superstar of Honor on Friday. You have Nigel's Magic Show coming up.
Mm-hmm. That's my two things.
All right, that's 3 more than you usually do.
Yeah, I mean, that's legitimately a lot more than I would normally do. So
Well, good.
I'm looking forward to it. Gotta see who's around, if there's anyone to say hi to or not. I don't know who's coming into town for this.
Well, speaking of saying hi, I just want to say hello to Lord Kev and Scott George and Wags for jumping into the chat early tonight.
Scott just jumps in and takes shots at me. I mean, Scott, I don't know what I did to you, man.
I know it's
I mean, you're right.
low hanging fruit, Scott. I mean, at some point, it's bullying.
He's not wrong, but still.
That's very self-aware of you.
I mean, I know who I am and what I am, and I'm okay with it. So besides that, anything new in your life?
You know, not really. I don't know how you want to look at it. I either won $2 in Keno today, or I lost $8.
Explain that, because that's math. It's not mathing.
I spent $10 to play Keno over lunch I don't usually play Keno ever. It's to me it's like a foreign language of terminology and all that stuff. But I met a buddy of mine for lunch and I played a few games and I got $2 or $3 back out of the 10 I spent. So hence I won $2, but I still lost.
No, you lost money.
Yeah.
It's only you win if you got $12 back.
You've seen their TikToks about like girl math, right?
Yeah, but that's girl math.
This is Asian Joe math.
Very similar to girl math.
There are some parallels.
Happy birthday, Lieutenant Colonel Photo. Yeah, Kate said screw you. She specifically said that.
I mean, some might say the best present is her not being here. I wouldn't say it, but some might say it.
Some might. I wouldn't, but because I like when she hosts, because that means that I don't have to. Because we see what happens when I'm left in charge. All right, so not a whole lot to get into. I mean, as anyone who's been listening to us knows, we've been on a quicker pace, which has been nice. Losing Collision and Rampage, so we won't discuss those because you should be tuning in every Saturday to the Collider Cast with Joe and I. That's really what you should be doing, and then you would be able to hear our live reactions to Collision. So we're going to start with news and notes because there was a couple news and notes this week. I'll do it in the chronological order of which they happened during the day. You had the CM Punk Ariel Helwani interview. I'm not going to really go over the whole thing, but basically he said Tony Khan's a nice guy, but he's not a boss. That if you yeah, Everyone always wonders. I don't know why my mic is blurred out, but it is. And I don't know why.
I don't know why it keeps throughout the show. It feels like it keeps getting higher and higher.
It does. The thing is broke and it just does that.
Put a counterweight on it, like something to.
I'm not doing that. But Tony Khan's a nice guy, but not a boss. If you want, you can go and have your 5-star matches, but he'd rather make money and sell out the building. They were unprofessional. They're lazy. Basically, the talking points we've heard, not just from a lot of people who have either an axe to grind or want to take a shot at them. Now, I'll let you get your opinion. I said that, and I want to establish that I'm not saying everything Punk said is necessarily wrong or a lie. I'm sure there's some truth in it. I mean, we've all heard rumors of how nice Tony Khan is, but he could be a bit of a pushover. We've heard rumors of that some people are a little lazy, but my opinion, if you're asking me what I at least my initial thought is, I call CM Punk like a mercenary, and it's not an insult. It's just whoever he's working for, he's going to do and say what makes that company look in the best light.
Yeah, I think that's natural. I think everyone has kind of a recency bias of, where you're at now. You're obviously there for a reason, and you chose to be there for a reason. So apparently, that's obviously the best situation for you at that time. And the comments about Tony being a nice guy but not a boss, that made me think of The Office, where David Wallace testifies and describes Michael Scott being up for the position of Jan's role, and he pretty much says, what can I say? He's a nice guy.
That's great. That is a great.
But
I mean, I don't think that's
nothing that came out totally unexpected from the interview. I guess like you said, there's some truths on both sides, and depending on whose side you're listening to, you take some things with a grain of salt.
Like, hello, Jesse Ozog.
Hello, Jesse.
Yeah. So I'm torn because again, I feel like he's a mercenary. I feel he's a bit of a. There is something though I will say that is very funny to me. The irony is, Punk always likes to go and complain about the old school carnies that were in the business and all that, and he is every bit that carny. And what I mean by that is, if you listen to Chris Jericho talk, listen to Hogan talk, you listen to any of the old guys who were around for a certain period, they somehow manage to frame everything in a certain light where they are never at fault and they were always wonderful. And he does that. I mean, you hear his thing with the Jack Perry thing. I didn't hit him, I just choked him out a little, as if like that's okay. And then like I quit, I wasn't fired. No, you were fired with cause. Because if you quit, I don't think you'd be working at WWE right now. Like there's a difference in, like, they could have held you up on that if they wanted to. There's a whole lot there. I'm not saying everything he said was wrong.
No.
But I think what it is, if I'm really getting down to it, is we hear the song and dance with him a lot. He leaves a place, he trashes it. Then he'll go back to a place and praise it again. And then he leaves a place. Like, it just, that's just who he is. And then, and I'm actually going to say Wags has a good point. He thought guaranteed contracts were killing the business, which it goes to the laziness comment, I guess. I think that's maybe one of the worst takes that he had in the whole thing. Guaranteed contracts are not a bad thing, ever.
It's charming.
No, I heard some people try, like, I saw people online who had a weird take. I saw it a few times where I wouldn't even bring it up. Where like, well, what is better for the customer? That these guys don't care about putting, about their performance and all. First of all, you're assuming things there that you can't necessarily assume just because they're guaranteed contracts. There's a lot of people who have guaranteed contracts who work their ass off.
I would say that before the guaranteed contract, where you have based off of tickets, house gate, and merchandise, and all those things. Uh, that I felt like that played more of a role when it was the house shows and live events.
Mhm.
But now with so much guaranteed TV rights money, um, you know, it you don't you can be a draw. Yes, obviously a top star is a draw, but it's not the same as bringing 15,000 people into an arena every week, where
Well,
your TV deal automatically brings you into millions of people's households.
the TV rights are the money now. It's no
Yeah.
longer your what you draw in a house. It's the TV money. But also, how do I want to say this? If you give me a guaranteed contract for $500,000 a year, because that's probably what the high end guys know, but maybe like the middle to high end guys are getting something like that. I don't know what their contracts are, but just say 500,000. It's for 3 years. And I'm 29, 30, whatever. You don't think I'm not going to work my ass off for my next contract and the contract after that? Like, if you came out and you paid me 100 million, I'd sit on my ass and not worry as much because I'm taken care of. But it gives the assumption that these guys don't want to work for the next contract, or they don't want to work for the merch bonuses that they get, or they don't want to work for like these other opportunities outside of wrestling that they'll be given. There's a whole lot of things there. Um, that was of all the takes he had in there, that was the one I was like, that just is.
So what I took away from what you just said was that you're not making $500,000 doing this podcast. I thought you had a contract. Did you not get that contract and you signed on?
I could be lying just to hide how much money I make.
Okay. Wow. Ryan's a sugar daddy. Okay.
Yeah, here's hoping. Um, no, but the whole thing again. That was his of all the takes he had. That was the one where I was like, wow, you really that was a swing and a miss on that. Like the rest, I could take that I'm not there, so I can't describe things that did or did not happen while at a place I don't work, and normally I don't really care. But when you talk about guaranteed versus not guaranteed money, you don't have to be there to have that opinion. To say that like that's a bad opinion. Guaranteed money is great, which leads us into our next topic. To be quite honest, unless you have anything else you want to say on Punk.
No, that's a segue, my friend. Go for it.
Yeah. AEW made a couple cuts yesterday, or was it 2 days ago? Was it yesterday? No, it was Monday. They made some cuts Monday, which is a bit out of the ordinary for them. They've never really made cuts before, so they cut the following people: Stu Grayson, Dasha Currett, Anthony Henry, who's hurt, Gravity, Jose the Assistant, Slim J, Parker Boudreaux, George Ole, and the Boys. So right off the bat, two names definitely stand out to me. It's the Boys because they're literally built an entire ROH feud around the Boys that is culminating on Friday. You couldn't wait a week to do that. And Anthony Henry because he's hurt. I mean, don't get me wrong. People like Jose the Assistant and Stu stand out to me for other reasons. But those are the two that stand out to me for like, holy crap. You should never cut anyone when they're hurt. That's just wrong. But I'm gonna be honest. I hate the cuts in general. I mean, I don't think not a hot take here. I hate the cuts in general. The one thing I liked about not the one, but one of the things I liked about AEW so much was apparently they were going to honor their contracts. We sign you. You can't leave and go elsewhere. So we're not going to grant your release when you ask, and you can't go elsewhere. But we're going to honor our contracts. And then they just cut the contracts. I hate that. Like that's the stuff I hate in football. That's the stuff I hate. Like if you sign your pen to paper, both sides should have to honor it. What do you think?
No, I'm with you. And unfortunately, it kind of, I know when Tony Khan had mentioned that was going to be the practice of honoring contracts through their run and not cut people. I think unfortunately, just the way the business evolved, that it is inevitable for them to, cut some talent based off of use or creative. And I think I think we saw it telegraphed a little bit more as they start to try to streamline their operations with their COO hire and some other things like that. Um, I just think they're just kind of readjusting their business strategy. So
Problem is, I think they're taking on the business strategy of the shitty side of WWE. Listen, there's some stuff that WWE does. I mean, listen, they're the number one wrestling company, but ignoring that, there are some business practices they have that AEW should absolutely steal from. They don't need to steal this one. This is the shitty practice. You paid these. You signed these people to a contract. Honor it. You don't have to renew. I will always feel bad that someone's contract is not renewed because I don't like people not having a job. But I will never think less of a company for not renewing a contract because that is the agreed upon thing. You're signed here for 3 years for this amount. We did you 3 years at this amount.
yeah, I feel like it's on the company to an extent, if not the majority, for them to when they make a commitment of 3 years, let's say, um, that they are signing them with the intention of they have plans for they have an idea of what they can do with that talent beyond the current storyline which they offered the contract in. Like they might sign someone like Slim J and whomever just because they're in a storyline at that moment with the mogul affiliate. Were they with the mogul affiliates or the embassy? I can't remember who they were with.
No, they were I don't even know what they're doing
Some
at this
faction,
point.
right? So
Yeah.
So yeah, like they have a lot of screen time, a lot of stuff like that, and then they get a contract. But like that's great. But what happens when that storyline runs dry and you have to move on? Like, do you have plans for them beyond that those few months? So if you don't have some kind of journey planned out for them when it's signed, then I think you're probably doing them a disservice.
You are. And the weird thing is what some of what was reported was that they were trying to this wasn't so much financials, it was to do what's best for the AEW roster and their roster, and the company and the wrestlers.
Which I don't understand because wrestlers have the ability to work indies. So it's not like they can't, they can't work outside of AEW.
I completely agree. The thing about it is, how do I say this? Tony Khan. I don't care what AEW is doing in business. I don't. I mean, I do because I want them to exist for the next whatever length of time that I'm watching wrestling. Yes, but I don't care in the sense of like it's not my money. I don't give a shit. But I can tell you this: AEW wasn't started by me or you. Meaning, if you and I were to take over AEW today, if they're not making money, I'm going to have to make cuts because I don't have the money to fund the company. Tony Khan has the money to fund the company. He also has the money to hold on to those contracts. So to me, it goes down to that of like, you should hold like you're responsible. You signed them. You agreed to this. Like you said, if you didn't have a plan, that's on you. That is 100% on you and not the wrestlers. Now, if it comes out in the next several weeks, and I don't think it will, but if it comes out in the next several weeks that there was actual issues with some of these people, they weren't cooperating, they weren't coming to work, they were whatever, then we can rescind some of this to that. I will, because I don't view that as a cut. I view that as a firing, which is a different. I know that sounds weird, but to me, a cut is no excuse. You just said we need a finance. We're making a decision. You're gone. It's nothing you did. It's us.
Yeah, it's layoffs basically.
Yeah, but if I just I don't know what Tony could come out and say to like, but I do think he has been kind of adamant that that's not something he was going to do. So if it's something you do, you have to kind of come out and say something.
Yeah, I agree. There should have been probably a statement when they like an announcement of we let X amount of people go, and then have a statement about like why and thanking them and doors always open type of statement, things like that. He probably should have had some kind of official statement.
Yeah. I mean, apparently the door is always open. This from what I read somewhere. But again, why cut them if the door is? Why not renegotiate the deal then? But then again, why would you if you're a wrestler? But if you're Slim J and you're saying, I feel really bad, he wrote this whole thing that he needs money and he needs work, it's like Tony should come to you and say, listen, I can't keep you on the guarantee, but I'm willing to do a per appearance and continue to use you as I need. Do you want to do that? I'm sure he would have done that because, um, you know, why wouldn't he? But if you're, I just I don't understand it. Like I said, the names were weird though. That's the other thing I'll say. Like Stu Grayson hasn't been used since his feud with the Righteous versus the Dark Order and ROH in a long time.
Mhm.
I don't know why they brought him back to not use him. I don't. Again, this I'm not gonna. I don't know if there's something more there. Maybe they each had a different expectation of the other, and they couldn't jive. And then Dasha will never make sense to me. I love Dasha. I don't know what she could have been doing wrong that would have.
I mean, besides she obviously splitting ring announce duties for Collision, and then I think she was also involved with the Spanish announce broadcast.
Yeah. No. I mean.
Jose, the assistant. I mean, I know he was kind of tied to Andrade and then Roosh, and Andrade gone, Roosh was hurt.
Yeah, I don't. Jose, I think, was great with them, so I don't understand it. Like you said, he was tied with them, and I think him and Roosh actually worked really well together.
I would have kept Anthony Henry around. I think he really could have done something more with the workhorsemen, especially in ROH.
He's awesome. How did you not? How is he? If it wasn't part of the workhorseman, he could have been in the pure division. Like he has just so much skill, and he's hurt. And I'll never forgive a guy being hurt. Slim J was very good, but like again, it just was a random assortment of names. And the boys, you're in an active feud, and you cut them. It just.
The worst thing would be like if they just like decide to just swap out, the twins with some other random, boys.
I don't think they would do that.
I hope not. I think that'd be bad look optically. Soon.
The only way that would work, and I say would work, it wouldn't because everyone knows what actually happened, so it doesn't add up. But ignoring that for a second, if Taya and Johnny said if Johnny lost and Taya and Johnny went to return the boys and they were different boys, and Dalton acknowledged it and was like, "These aren't my boys. What did you do?" And it's like, "Well, your boys are," but again, it's shitty,
right?
Because you fired if the Tate twins had quit, if the Tate twins had signed a deal elsewhere, and it was on their own, you could do that storyline, and I don't think anyone would care because it's kind of funny. But when you cut them, it just kind of defeats the whole. And then there's like names like Georgial and Parker Boudreaux. Georgial, I think he's a decent wrestler, but a pretty good wrestler, but he wasn't being used that often.
Mm-hmm.
He'd pop up on ROH here and there, but not a ton. Gravity, I don't know what the deal's with him because isn't he like brothers with a Bandito?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's weird you cut him and Bandito would hopefully come back soon. Parker Boudreaux just doesn't seem like he'll ever catch on. So
no, he probably needs to get out of professional wrestling.
It really does not seem to be his thing. I don't get it. So it just kind of sucks, and people were saying, well, did Tony do this because of the CM Punk interview? He's not a boss. No, like you don't spur the moment do that. Even no matter what company you are, there's so much HR paperwork you'd have to go through. You'd have to make sure their contracts were cuttable, like all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
No. It just. Who's wrestling in Mexico, Scott?
Gravity.
Gravity. Maybe he wants to stay in Mexico. Like there could be things here, that are not 100% what we see.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, even if Tony doesn't come out and say it, he should definitely leak it. Oh, Parker's wrestling in Mexico.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still don't think he's any good.
He was in what, Triple A or something down there.
I guess. I don't know.
Uh,
Uh, I,
unless you have anything more, I think we could. This kind of transitions into the opening segment of Dynamite tonight. I think.
yeah, I was gonna ask about that. So Dynamite opens with Adam Copeland coming out to give a promo, and his promo was I actually liked the promo. I mean, it was like very AEW positive. This is a great play. He starts off by saying there's been a lot of negativity this week, and he's done with that. And he loves this place, and it's the most fun he's having. But he also doesn't shit on WWE at all. He basically tried to say like it's good that this all exists. He mentions Cody by name, like his whole point being the more the better. Um, he mentions he watched WWF when people started booing. He said stop. The NWA, which they're still around, but now with obviously different. Um, So, I thought it was an okay promo. Like I said, I don't mind positive promos. I don't mind. There was a lot of negativity if you want to get out in front of it. My question to you was, and you can tell me how you felt about the promo. But my question to you is, did he come up with the idea that he wanted to say this, or did Tony go to him and say, "Can you say this?"
I don't want to discredit the guy, especially when he comes out and said it was his idea to come out and talk. Even when he said that to the audience tonight, that he wanted to come out here and ask for this time. But my shoot job of working in corporate communications made me feel like this was kind of a let's have this kind of state of the union type of promo where we acknowledge there's been talk, we hype up what we're doing and why AEW is the best alternative, the best option in our opinion. And we can like all sorts of wrestling, but AEW has a spot, and we have the best wrestling in the world. From what they are best wrestlers, and I think going into the promo. Sorry, I'm kind of talking about the promo itself, but where he
Yeah, no, you're
mentioned
good.
Copeland, kind of looks in the camera and says, AEW, we're the best wrestle. And that's kind of been the whole, this new tagline where Tony Khan used it a couple times in tweets and things. That statement reminded me a lot of back when, it was WCW where the big boy play. It had that same, that tagline. But yeah, it was just a very much of a rah-rah promo to kind of re-energize the crowd and the fan base. You have a pay-per-view coming up. You're trying to boost, live event attendance. There's a lot of things that you're trying to, rally people to get excited about.
Do you think he was doing this more in response to the CM Punk interview or the cuts?
I think it's really both. Because when you're kind of listening to what he meant, what he was talking about, I felt like, you're talking about I felt like it kind of covered both angles and both, because the kind of the negativity around AEW this week stems from both of those incidents. I felt like, so I think this promo of building up AEW was really trying to offset both of those things.
No, that makes sense. I agree with you. I think it's the same. I think someone like Copeland, he's been around the business for a very long time. He was in WWE through the Attitude Era into Ruthless Aggression when they were at their peak, and then he was there through some very lean years before he got hurt, and then he got hurt. But he saw the ups and downs, and I think meaning he has seen both wrestler and fan morale in ups and downs, and I think a guy like that probably goes, let's see what I can do to help change that, because the one thing you don't want is perception to become reality. You don't want people to perceive AEW as this shitty product or this bad place or this unprofessional or it's not worth watching. So you don't, because eventually, even if it's not, perception becomes reality. That's just what people believe. So I think he got out in front of it.
I agree. I mean, I think having Copeland with his credibility and his history in the business, coming out there and rubber stamping AEW and what they're about. Gives it some credence as far as what their mission statement is. And it felt very much like in the past, it felt like a promo you would hear delivered from, Danielson. Or before him, it reminded me of some of the things that you might hear come out of John Moxley's mouth talking about AEW and having the toughest badass wrestlers in the world. It had that same tone to me. And I think, and especially all those guys are older veterans who have been in various companies, so they're able to speak to it on different levels. I think it helps, build up the credibility of AEW going forward.
Agreed. I think I also think there was another sub benefit here, which is, I know this is going to sound weird because he is one of the top 3 wrestlers in the world, but I do think they're still trying to get people who are unfamiliar with him for them to understand just how awesome Will Ospreay is, and they're doing that with his matches. But I also think having a guy like Adam Copeland come out, a guy who might have the casual viewer watching that he might not typically have because he was first and he's standing out there and there's someone they know, having him say, hey, this guy is the future, this guy is amazing. I think that helps. I think that's something to be like, well, hey, they're having Copeland pump this guy up. He must be something. Not like you think Copeland's the one that's determining it, but more like if Copeland's willing to go pump it up, then it must be something. So I think, all things considered, that was another nice little thing to have them interact in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. Building up to that point, my buddy who I had lunch with, he knows I do this podcast with you, and he's like, yeah, I used to watch wrestling back in the day, and I was more of a WCW guy, and but anyhow, I could mention some names who are still wrestle, like Adam Copeland, Edge, or before that Sting and some other guys, and he'd be like, really, they still wrestle? So he would tune in every now and then just to see some of these older guys you're familiar with wrestle, obviously some of the newer guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I always say. Like whenever I was, when Sting was in TNA, this is when it was TNA before it was Impact, then back to TNA. When Sting was in TNA, I would stop and watch when he was on. I'd watch when Shawn Michaels was on, and I wasn't watching wrestling at this point. So I would be like, who's he wrestling? And that's how I recognize some people. Like, maybe I didn't watch consistently because I just wasn't in the mood. But if I was thinking about it, having him wrestle. Now I see what I'm saying is that needed. Will is so over live fans are reacting to him like no one else. Yes and no. If you look at his, I think some of his ratings, and I'm not a huge guy who gets into ratings talk, but it came up, I think, that his weren't, they weren't bad. They just weren't at the same level as maybe some others. I really think a lot of it is just you can't do enough for a guy like that. If you really want this guy to be the future of your company, you cannot do enough to make him at that level. And you just need to, you just do it for people who aren't watching, New Japan and who may be watching AEW, but don't, who don't like, they see him, but they're just like, I still don't see the hype which I don't know how you haven't seen the hype with the 2 matches, but still, I don't think you can do it enough. I think you should always do more of it until the guy is really at that, like, he's not Swerve level yet. Like, if he was at Swerve level, I'd say whatever. But, like, until you hit that, I think you can't do it enough.
Well, before we get on to that first match, you know how he came out and Copeland came out and talked about, he wanted to come out there. It's his idea. He just wanted to be real with people. He didn't want to bring out his title. And then all of a sudden, his title appears on his shoulder.
So clearly, I mean, we know that he wanted to do the real, but they wanted the picture of Ospreay looking at Copeland with the title on his shoulder. Like, I get it. That was a made-for-TV moment. But in my head, Actually, Jesse, I did not make that pun on purpose. I am really bad at that. I just go for the puns naturally. But I think in my head, I'm picturing some stagehand looking in his locker room, like, the belt's here. And you just see him running down the aisle, like, I got the belt. But yeah, I mean, I get it. It was a nice way to start it. It was weird to point it out, like, and then to have it be there at the end. I think he would have been better off walking out with it, putting it down, and being like, I'm going to put this aside for a second. This isn't about that. But whatever. I mean, again, it doesn't really matter. They wanted the picture. Yeah. They wanted the picture of Copeland and Ospreay with the belt conveniently on the shoulder that faces the camera, so that you get the. I mean, it was really well done. That's a good picture. Visuals like that matter too. I wouldn't mind that feud down the road, though. I think Ospreay is probably going for the overall gold. If you want to stop that one, I wouldn't care. I actually think before we get to the first match, we'll take our break because it's kind of a natural. We've talked all the business side of things, so let's take a break and we can run through this Dynamite now. So everyone should know we are on the Shining Wizards Network. They really helped get us going. Some of you are fans of them. If you're not, you should be. But there's also other shows on the Shining Wizards Network. So we'd like to take a couple minutes to let those shows tell you about themselves. So hold on while I do the commercial overlay. Volume. You guys are going to hear step by step because to me it's a funny gimmick. And I hit play.
And every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to the Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast, where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers, and the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive, and believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web, and make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is the Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the Squared Circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things and not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill?
Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
You like your music heavy? Then check out Radioactive Metal. on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network.
Well, the action is underway.
What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums.
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
Because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at MarkOrderPod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Dots, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And when you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
Get off my lawn, asshole! We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Bags.
Kevin Rowe.
And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke and Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones, too.
We're currently talking about the death of WCW.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Year of Duke and Rope podcast. They're funny guys. I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast with two men, Duke Bags, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Oklahoma?
And once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit! If you're not listening to the Year of Duke and Rope podcast in the back with the boys, you piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's, you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something only a man can do. You're talking about sliding one in there. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit. Slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
Almost did it again. And we are back from commercials. So, Joe, before we get into talking about Dynamite, I guess I should be a shill for a second. If you're a fan of the podcast, and I hope if you're listening or watching, you are, because it'd be really weird to be a fan of the podcast and to be watching or listening, not a fan, but you do you. Actually, real quick, I'm gonna stop my shill. Joe, you called it Canada in the chat, and I am getting blame.
No. I would never.
Let's be clear here. I own my trolling of Canada. I blame Canada.
I don't troll Canada at all.
You clearly do. And
They're our neighbors to the north.
I would acknowledge my troll job. I'm on to you, Joseph. You know, I will slander Canada. I have no problem doing, no matter what we're talking about. But I didn't do it then. Anyway, if you're a fan of the show, please like, subscribe on all platforms that you use. Go to YouTube, subscribe. It would really help us out. Go to Spotify, Apple, whatever. Like, subscribe, leave a review if you're bored. Do all that good stuff. It actually does help us out. Helps more people to find us. And if you think we're fun, let people find us. Don't hide us. But then what you could also do is go to our Pro Wrestling Tees store at Pro Wrestling Tees /Mark Order Pod, and buy one of our 4 shirts. We have these lovely 4 designs. 2 of them with writing, 2 of them with our design. I think some of them have stuff on the back. I'm not the best at clothes selling because I wear plain tees, so I can't really do that. Joe, do you have any way you want to sell this?
Well, don't be like Ryan. Buy tees that aren't plain. Buy Mark Order podcast shirts like the giant logo or just the font and the type, or the double-sided one with the pocket logo and the giant logo on the back of it. And they'll even probably ship to Canada or Canada, wherever you want to ship them to.
See? I told you it was you.
I learned it from watching you,
French
Ryan.
Canada. And if you're confused about where to go, if you go to any of our socials, we have a link tree and you can find the store on the link tree. So if you're like, I can't type in that address into my web browser, there you go. Yes. See, Ophelia. See, I didn't do it. It was this guy. This guy. I mean, I will shit on Canada. Don't worry, but I just didn't do it there. Speaking of 2 things that didn't come from Canada, we had Powerhouse Will Hobbs versus Will Ospreay. Willie versus Willie. One Willie's bigger than the other, but
Big Willie style.
Big Willie style. No, I'm not getting jiggy with it. But this was a fun match. You had the match story was Hobbs basically beating the hell out of Ospreay, and Ospreay having to be very selective in his moments. He couldn't power with him. Obviously, he got fall-away slammed on the announce table that looked ugly. He tried chopping Hobbs at one point, and Hobbs just kind of stared at him. And what you could, Will Ospreay had this like smirk on his face, like, "Oh, I just screwed up." And then, so it was a lot of that. There was a lot of back and forth, but Ospreay did eventually manage to hit the hidden blade and walk out with the pin. Will Hobbs was not pleased about this, and Don Callis had to get in between the 2 of them because they're both technically part of the Don Callis family. Why, I don't know. But that was our match. So, Joe, could you make Will Hobbs hurt with a chop?
I don't know if I could, but I don't know if I want to try.
Could you?
Could I hurt him with a chop? No, I
That
don't
was the
think
question.
so. I could maybe write him some poetry and hurt him that way.
It'll be like slam poetry.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I could hurt him with a chop.
How?
I just chop him in the balls.
I still think you'd probably hurt your hand.
What are they, titanium?
I mean, a guy that big, come on.
I'm just saying, we all have a weakness. So what do you think of the match, though, besides whether you could chop him or not?
First of all, I do forget that Ospreay is in the Don Callis family still.
Me too, and I wish we could forget it more.
But the match was fun. I like when you have the contrasting styles, and I like that it felt like 2 brothers in a family fighting over the last slice of pizza or something. Just like for the brawling and, like you said, the different styles. Hobbs ragdolling Ospreay and kind of just casually throwing him across the announcer's desk. Case not here, so we'll call out spots.
I already did, yeah.
No, Osprey's handspring corkscrew wheel kick thing that he did. He's just so goddamn fast.
Handspring corkscrew wheel grip thing he did.
Yes.
I did know he tried the what do they call it? The cutter off the ropes.
Yeah.
What's the cutter off the ropes called?
The Os cutter?
Is it the Os cutter? He tried it. I liked that he tried it, failed, and then set it up again and hit it. Like I like stuff like that. Like it's a nice storytelling.
The thing that was terrifying to me was seeing a man of Hobbs' size do a frog splash. That was something that would haunt my nightmares if I saw that coming at me. And otherwise, I was a little worried about Hobbs' head when Osprey kind of landed on it. It looked like he caught a knee to the head and then before the hidden blade. But
agreed. I do think this match also had the advantage in a weird way of showing how much size Osprey actually does have now.
The guy had been telling that story from like the match with Shibata, talking about how much bigger he is.
Yeah, like I guess that's what I was struggling. Couldn't think of Shibata's name. Thank you. That's where I was blank. He's gotten big, and they've been trying to say like he's not the skinny kid that people knew him as 10 years ago. He is, and I guess the guy like Will Hobbs, who's a big boy, it showed because he was still outpowered, and he was thrown around, but he didn't look small, and I thought that was huge. It really is like a big deal.
But I think Danielson looks small compared to Archer.
Also, so we move on from Osprey winning to as Osprey's walking up the ramp, you hear Danielson's music, and I love that the Excalibur's like, he wasn't supposed to come back out till after break, but I guess he wanted to make a point. I just thought that was an awesome thing that Danielson's like, no. I have to go out and sarcastically clap for this man as I pass him. So it was Bryan Danielson versus Lance Archer. So I guess the story. Hey, I'm reading the chat. You guys make fun of my shirt, and yeah, I don't know why I have a white light on, and I don't have the green screen behind me, so I think it's reflecting weird.
It looked almost like a floral, like a Hawaiian shirt for a second.
Whatever. I think that the story here is you made both of them face big boys. Danielson, like Osprey, got tossed around a lot, really struggled to get offense going against Archer, would have his moments, but struggled, tried to do some missions, couldn't get it. Ended up winning when he hit him with buzzsaw round, but those buzzsaw kicks, charging out of the corner, 3 of them, and then he hit the knee. He did a couple things. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. He did 3 kicks, and then he did the running knee. It took a lot, and he finally got the pin. But it definitely felt like a match where like Danielson, like Osprey, was not ever really in control, which is good. I'm not criticizing that at all. This was the same story. Could you kick Lance Archer?
Could I kick him?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I could kick him.
I'm just saying, would he hurt him? Would it hurt him?
Probably. I can probably do that. Especially if I have like steel-toed boots or something.
Cowboy boots?
That too, the pointy ones, yeah.
Yambag
City, my friend.
Yeah. Listen, Jesse, everybody dies. But yeah, so clearly I kind of actually appreciate that. That they told the same story, but it didn't feel like the same match. So it wasn't like the match was the same. But I liked that they put both of them against their big boys, and both of them had to get creative to win and take it up a level. I think that showed a lot for them. Now, unfortunately, it doesn't do much for Danielson's size because he doesn't have it, but he doesn't need it either. He's known as like the ultimate underdog, so he doesn't need the size.
Yeah, I like the fact that when Osprey and Danielson had that little interaction at the ramp, Osprey's like, go out there and top that. So it was very much, like I took care of my bigger opponent. Now you have to go out there and try to do the same thing, albeit a different way.
Here's the problem with what you just said, Joe. You said top fat. You're an 80s kid. You ever see Teen Witch?
I mean, a long time ago. I don't remember it.
The song Top That?
Nope.
Oh, well, that's in my head now.
I'm sorry.
I can't play it here, but it's so thank you for that. You had
Feel
just
free to hum it or sing it if you want to.
I honestly I couldn't. I wish I could. Like I know it, but I don't know. It's one of those things where like I can hear it, but I couldn't like. And honestly, I probably wouldn't have remembered that song except I've watched listened to two podcasts that shit on the movie, and both of them played that song in full, and it's just been in my head. So anyway,
overall though, I'll say no. Danielson winning was great. I thought this was one of the better matches. I thought to really highlight Lance Archer as a big threat and like a guy who can go and show how dangerous he is again. I don't feel like he got any kind of matches that were a little bit longer, and he got so much offense in on a guy with such a name and position in the company. So I felt like it really helped him a lot. Just having him show out like this and just beat the hell out of Danielson on the outside of the
they're
ring.
going to do nothing with it, which is the problem, though.
True. That's what happens.
He's the consummate, have a good match, be the guy to fight, but not win it. Really, really hurts.
It does.
So we go to commercial, and then we're back from commercial, and you have Renee Paquette interviewing Chris Jericho.
This hurts more.
We're going to really blow by this. He says he wanted to be Hook's mentor. Then Hook comes out saying, and Jericho's like, "You didn't believe me." Hook's like, "I kind of believe you." So I have us have a match on Collision. Turns out it's against Shane Taylor Promotions. Any thoughts, feelings, emotions?
Not really. I think Jericho's weird. It's just a weird storyline, and Jericho's comments to Hook felt very much like when you're in a relationship and you're trying to convince someone that no, oh, I won't break your heart, I won't hurt you. It's different this time around with you. That's what it felt like to me listening to his promo to Hook. But
correct. Yeah, that's. I have no comment. Like, I mean, I do. I'm gonna say I have no interest in this. That's my comment.
Hey, at least Shane Taylor Promotions are on TV. That's cool. But
I love Shane Taylor Promotions. Cannot say enough good things about them. Lee Moriarty's amazing. Shane Taylor's amazing. I like Hook, and I actually am a Jericho fan in general. Like I have historically, I should say, liked his work. But he just doesn't have it anymore. Like he needs to go away for a while, and then he could come back and be the savior. But they flipped him around too much. That kind of killed whatever momentum he had. So we go on. We leave that trash to more trash. We have Billy Gunn, Daddy Ass versus Switchblade Jay White. Switchblade is coming out to his cool entrance. Daddy Ass emerges from the dark, attacks Switchblade, basically beats the hell out of him for the next way too long. I don't know how long it was, but it felt like an eternity.
Should have been a count out at least 5 different times in this match.
Or a disqualification earlier. You get to the end of the match. Daddy Ass has hit multiple Famousers. It looks like he could win easily. Then he goes out and he gets a chair. And as he's coming, in the middle of the match, we see that the Acclaimed are knocked down, hurt in the back. Okay. But anyway, he comes up and he's got a chair and he's going to hit Switchblade. But the ass boys are out there saying, no, daddy. No, don't hurt our boyfriend. Actually, that's me. That's what it felt like to me. Like when you have your kid in front of you, like, don't hurt our friend, daddy. Don't hurt him. Like, felt like it literally seemed like a movie. Like I'm really just picturing Austin. And it really felt like a scene out of like a 90s movie where the dad was going to beat up the girl's boyfriend. And the girl is on the. That's what I'm. I guess I need to express it because I wasn't expressing myself right. That's what's coming out of my head right now. That's all I could picture was that Austin Gunn in that moment was a 90s teenage girl, and Switchblade was her bad boy boyfriend, and he picked her up on a motorcycle, and he was drunk, and the dad is mad. So the dad doesn't have a chair; he has a bat. He's gonna hurt him, and she's like, "No, Daddy, don't do it." That's where I was. That's where my head was. I mean, that's how bored I was. I literally had that all planned out. So, guys, that's how much I cared about this plot. He tosses Austin aside, fakes out Colton, but then Switchblade gives him the old yam bag punch. And the match ends in disqualification with Switchblade disqualified. Hold on, before you have to understand, Ophelia. She's saying this AEW fan fiction as well. I was very bored during this. I literally, as I saw Austin on his knees, and I don't know why, I can picture it in my head. He's got long brown hair. He's on his knees. And he had the bad boy Viker, because Jay White kind of looks like the bad boys would look in the 90s. He'd have the leather jacket. He'd have the leather pants. He'd have the motorcycle. It's the whole thing. Put it down. Anyway.
I feel like you're projecting. I feel like this is something that you
No, I'll tell you exactly what.
Or
Please,
you
I
watch.
wish. Yeah. I wish. No, this is me having watched way too much 90s TV and movies. That's all that is. That being said, God damn, that was bad. Why did Switchblade lose? Why did Switchblade get dominated? Why was it okay that Billy Gunn beat him from sun up to sundown and never got disqualified once? But Switchblade does something back and he gets disqualified. Oh, and then the Acclaimed come out and they chase off the AS Boys and Switchblade. And they cut a promo, but no one cares. There was literally no heat to this. Joe, I have told you my opinion, which is I booked a 90s movie. What 90s Lifetime movie? What is your no, not really Lifetime. It's more MTV UPN style movie. But go.
You had a very strange childhood. It was I don't know how long the match was, but it felt way too long for the outcome we got. If you're going to do all this work and let Daddy Ass, beat up Jay White that long, only for a DQ finish that we pretty much figured there would be some kind of shenanigans at the end anyway with the Guns interfering. I figured they'd probably help Jay White win somehow, cost him the match. But yeah, all that time for a DQ finish just felt very unnecessary. And I can't wait for Dynasty to get here so we can move beyond this.
Agreed. I mean, it was so bad. And based on what I was seeing on Twitter, I was not alone in thinking this was so bad. Now, I may have been alone and be alone in what I ended up thinking during this match, but it seemed everyone was like that. I also think there's two other things at play in this. Well, there's three things in play in general. One, no one cares about this feud. Two, people kept expecting Jay White to make his comeback and be in the match. And the fact was he never was. And I think that drives people nuts because three people think this is a waste of Jay White. And I absolutely agree.
I'm with you. It's the only thing that would have saved this is if Juice would have popped up somewhere.
I'm really hoping he's at a Dynasty. I mean, he would fit well in my scenario too, because he would play the sad girlfriend so well. I'm just saying. Or no, he's the goofy friend who's there for. He's the bad boy's best friend, but he's funny because the bad boy always had that stoogey best friend who was funny. Think about it. You had Harley Kiner, but he had Frankie, and then you had, I forget the little guy's name, the skinny guy. But the skinny guy was funny. Well, so was Frankie. Guys, I'm playing 4D chess here. All right. I can get back into wrestling after that terribleness, and I'll leave us at our my 90s. Joey, thank you.
Joey. Yeah.
So you Joey and Frankie.
Oh, I will say, after that match, looking at some of my notes, after that, Daddy Ass Jay White match, the amount that people were using the announcer's desk tonight seemed really excessive. All to the point of where I thought like the announcer's desk is getting more action than I've gotten in the last 3 years. Like it took a
I
beating.
do like at I do like at one point. First of all, wow. Second of all, I liked at one point. Tony Schiavone's like, "All right, see you guys." He's just gonna leave. We were talking about Boy Meets World. This Boy Meets World, Boy Meets World, running down
Probably
the
looking at a
street,
podcast too, don't you?
call life. What you doing? All right, so we had this terribleness. We had 2 segments of terribleness back to back. A terrible promo, a terrible match. Thank God someone who's booking the show was like, you know what? Fans aren't going to need sunshine and rainbows. And we get Willow, mother flippin' or fluffin'. I think she says fluffin'. Mother fluffin' Nightingale coming out with Stat and Stokely. Facing the stage so the fans are behind them, which was weird until you see why they did that. But Willow just cuts this awesome promo where she's like, I think she called herself hefty at one point, hefty or chunky or something. And as a big man myself, I get it. With curly hair, and she thought she'd always be the first pick, but she could feel people behind her. And she's going to do it. And she's got all this positive energy. And Stokely then gets on and says, I'm going to say something I never said before. Willow had what kids call a banger. And then calls her special. And as he's about to talk, CEO, 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 CEO comes out. And so Mercedes Moné comes out. She kind of talks a little trash to Willow. Says you're going to do well, but doesn't matter because whoever wins the dynasty is going to face the CEO at Double or Nothing, which makes me think that Mercedes can't wrestle right now. And so they're like, yeah, we're gonna. So I loved this promo. Mercedes. So the reason they had them facing the stage is because Mercedes walked out, so you had like the look and didn't have them in the ring. I loved this promo. Mercedes' portion was a little weaker, but in fairness to her, she was given the weaker portion. She didn't come out and being that arrogant person when you're trying to go against what Willow just had. Like Willow had the hometown positivity. It's very tough to do, and I don't know anyone who could really have succeeded. So what did you think?
Well, first of all, your description of Willow when you were reading that, all she was missing was the covered overalls and glasses. And you're describing her with the, curly hair and being fluffy and all that stuff.
And you're making fun of me, but you're describing she's all that.
I will never confirm nor deny that. It was a good Willow promo, and it's the positive energy, and I want to know how to become a mother fluffer. That sounds fun.
I thought she's gonna curse, and she just won't curse because she is goddamn Willow. I'll curse for both of us.
And then, Mercedes kind of felt like the hill here, so I like that.
Yeah, I think Mercedes. Listen, I like Mercedes as a face, but I think she works better as a heel. I think there's just some people, they're so good at. I hate to say this is going to sound weird, but it actually doesn't sound weird. I think it's in fairness. She's extremely talented. She's kind of got that celebrity energy. She's very pretty. You're gonna want to hate her, is what my point being. There's just some people who, if you feel like they have everything, screw you. Now it's not obviously real, but it just feels like that. You have that energy. I will also say respectfully, Chris Statlander and whatever she was wearing, she was basically a bad guy in the 90s movie. Sticking to my eyes. I dug it. So yeah, I'm excited for this. So then we follow that awesome promo with an awesome match. We have the best friends, Orange Cassidy and Trent Barretta, with Chuck and Sue, founder of Chaos, versus the Young Bucks, or our EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. This was a nice back and forth match. Lot of action. There was times where I knew there was an overrun, but it still felt like times where it could have been ended. Orange hit a couple punches or kicks. You saw the Young Bucks just look seconds away, but the best parts to me were when they were outside and Sue slapped Matt. It always makes me happy to see Sue involved. It wasn't a good slap; it was a weak slap, but it made me happy she was there. But unfortunately,
she slapped air. That's about all she slapped.
I don't care. She stood up for herself. So they're in the ring. I actually really thought the best friends had it at one point. You had the knee from Trent, followed by an orange punch, and there was just a couple things where I really thought Trent was going to have the pin, and they broke it up. So Trent goes over to his mom, gets some words of like, let's go, but then he gets launched into an exposed turnbuckle and eats a pin. Very, very sad. The Bucks mock Sue, they're crying, and we're all sad. But it's okay, because they're the best friends. The best friends, they're going to hug us and show us it's okay. She gets in the three corners, and I'm watching this, and I want to believe in the power of friendship. But even in my head, I'm like, something's wrong here. Trent doesn't look right. Trent looks wrong. Fucking Brandon delivered a knee to Orange Cassidy, that bastard. And so ends the best friends. Though Chuck kind of had a weird look. He didn't get attacked, and he kind of like a little looked off. I don't know what's going to happen with Chuck. Trent walked out. He walked out on Sue too. Rude. That's your mother. Respect your mother. Would you respect Sue, Joe? And what's your thoughts on the match?
Sue was rocking the tracksuit tonight. She pulled it off. I liked it. I would love if she went heel. If she went heel, that'd be fun.
Oh, that would be the fucking best thing ever.
She upgrades her minivan to like some like Tesla like Cybertruck.
No. She's a heel, so she goes like gas guzzling Humvee.
I'm all for it. But no, the match is good. I wasn't paying attention to the match as much as the story, because I felt like the story of what would happen in the end was the highlight. Because we've seen these people go at each other before in the ring. We know what they can do. We know that Matt Jackson is the master of the Northern Light suplex. I like the soul food half and half combo that he did. Matt Jackson calling picture in picture on the headset, doing Tony Schiavone's job, doing the EVP shenanigans that they do. That was all fun, but it was really for me to see what happened at the end, because we were all kind of forecasting this Trent heel turn. We just didn't know when it was going to come.
So I will say this. Yes, we have seen these four go at it before. And I think that actually added to the story of the match, because it was, can the best friends finally win the big match, win a match against a big opponent in the big time and pull it off? And they've had a couple, but like it always feels like they come up short. And there was a little bit of like that hope in this match that could they do it? But of course they couldn't. And yeah, we had been predicting that the Trent heel turn, and it happened. So after that, we have another fun match. We have Mariah May with Tony Storm on commentary, always delightful, versus Thunder Rosa dressed as Wolverine from the X-Men. I guess she's celebrating X-Men 97. I was digging a look. It was a back and forth match. There was a moment going outside the ring that was a little sloppy, but overall I enjoyed it. Mariah May is just fantastic. Sorry, Jesse X23. Listen, it's Wolverine to me forever and always. His colors. These copycat laters couldn't eat it. But Thunder Rosa won by pinfall with a Tijuana bomb. So she is coming after Tony Storm. Tony Storm looked like, Pinocchio. Who's your favorite X-Men, and what did you think?
Wolverine. Gambit was second. Cyclops was my least favorite. And I am all caught up on X-Men 97, so I've worked my way through the 4 episodes so far. The match is good. I'm just getting tired of seeing like Mariah like not getting that win yet. I know she's in the wings to get that win eventually, but and it makes sense for Thunder to get this opportunity since she didn't lose the belt. But I just want Mariah. I'm a big fan of Mariah May's work, and I love her little basement shotgun drop kick that she does. She looks like someone. She almost looks like someone who shouldn't be able to strike that hard as she does. Like her style compared to like her just aesthetic doesn't match up. So I think it's what I like the best, and that really showed during like the forearm strike exchange between her and Thunder going at it, like just how hard they were going at striking each other. But other than that, Thunder had that nice little, Mayday escape into the backstabber, which would help her, get into that Tijuana bomb for the win. So, yeah, I'm happy to see it, and I think maybe Tony was worried maybe more because she just wasn't wearing underwear.
And then I saw her standing there with blue eyes and long blonde hair. She wasn't wearing underwear. And I thought that she might be the one. Maybe we'd have some fun. Sorry. Yes, I sung Blink-182. Yeah, Tony Storm was unhinged on commentaries, as Ophelia pointed out in the new comment. Just awesome. Sorry. Getting a text from that person. It's like, anyway, I get your point on Mariah May, except she's young. So like at some point, yes, she's gonna need that win, but she has a lot of wins too. Not like she's always losing. She just lost against your number one contender. It's not like she right now is she right now is your how do I say this? I want to say like TBS level. Like I think if she were to go in the TBS, she should be competing for that. But they don't really do that. So like, I don't know. I get what you're saying. She's 25. Like what else he's saying? She's 25. She's young. She's got time. But I get your point. You don't want her to be a loser. Clearly, her big coming out. If wrestling holds as wrestling holds, her big coming out is going to be against Tony Storm in their blow off. Like that's how wrestling is.
That's gonna be her big win. Yeah.
When she stops wearing now. Ooh, question.
Will she be timeless?
Correct. Will she be
Marvelous Mariah May?
No, the question. Sorry, I'm struggling with phrasing this because we're going 2 months out. Do you think she's the face or the heel?
The heel. I feel like it's always easier to be sympathetic with the heel on their downfall. So like when Tony loses and then Mariah jumps her or turns on her, I think it'll be easier to root for Tony.
Okay, fair enough. I wasn't curious. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure which way you thought she was going to go. All right, let me go to my next quest. My next line. Not my next. Oh, sorry. Penta El Cerro gives a promo, and he says he is going to face Adam Copeland for the TNT Championship. I like that. Have the Copeland challenge. A lot of fun there. So then we leave that and we come back to the ring, and you have Tony Schiavone standing in front of a vacant table, which we all know means contract signing. So you have Swerve and Joe come out. Crowd very pro Swerve. Joe was at one point ready to I don't know if he was ready to talk or sign the contract. I think he signed the contract. And the Who's House chants were so loud he even stopped at one point. Kind of like gave a look of like, holy crap. He signs the contract. He talks some shit on Strickland, basically being like, you think this is going to be your fairy tale? This is going to be this happy ending. I hate to tell you, it's not happening. Like, I'm here. I'm in your way. Too bad. Strickland goes to sign it, but before he talks his own shit, basically saying like, he didn't think it's possible, but he's here. Look at all the people around him, and he plans on being on top. He's like, this is his moment. Joe says something. I forget what Joe says, and Swerve punches him. Then Swerve goes to choke him with a chain, but I guess Smojo's neck is so thick he couldn't be choked. So he just kind of turns around in the chain, hits Swerve, grabs the chain, and then beats Swerve up with the chain. Boom, boom, boom. So he goes start to walk up the ramp. This is my favorite moment in the entire night. Swerve starts laughing. And Smojo turns around with a look in his face that was fear. But it wasn't overt fear that you see from like cowardly heels or anything like that. This was like true, like, what the hell is going on fear? This is not how I predicted this would go. I thought you were going to be down, and I thought this would have demoralized you. And Swerve basically saying, like, I love this. And then he signs in his blood. And then Joe comes out and beats him up some more. It's a whole thing. But that moment, to me, that moment where Joe's walking up the ramp, I just beat up my buddy, and you hear the laughing, like, just like, what is going on? One of my favorite things I've seen. What are your thoughts, Joseph?
Couldn't agree more. The fact that the laugh is off camera makes it even more eerie because it's that, very sick, sadistic laugh of when he goes to that dark place. And it kind of shows you the depths that Swerve will go to win. He still has that dog in him as far as, he'll choke you. He'll make you bleed. He likes the punishment. He gets stronger getting, thrown through a table and beat with a chain. It just gives Joe a different opponent that he's never had before of a for lack of better words, a sicko who enjoys the violence as much as Joe likes to dish out violence.
Yes, exactly. The signing it in blood was an interesting touch where he took the pen to his head and he and then he touched the contract with blood. I don't know if that contract's valid, to be quite honest with you.
It's a blood contract.
I don't know if that holds water.
I mean, they could be blood brothers now. Who knows? But the you mentioned the choking with the chain where he.
Sorry, I'm thinking of the blood. See, this is where my mind. I'm just too distracted. I'm thinking of the two of them being like blood brothers and like doing that like handshake, or they're like, yeah.
This is why Ryan can't host. His mind wanders too fast.
Yes, I start going into my '90s. My '90s shtick again.
See, Pieces says blood contracts are the most valid contracts.
Yeah, if you're entering a contract with the devil. I mean, the devil went down to Georgia. He was looking for a soul steal. Sorry. No, I listen. So, to me, the turnaround look is my favorite moment. Mm-hmm. What was your favorite moment again?
Mine was just the Swerve turning on that evil laugh, the sadistic laugh that he had, and just going to that dark place that he goes to. That you see him do that in matches with the Heyman and some other times where he'll do whatever it takes to win. That's the thing that he uses to separate himself from others. That's just the facial expressions he has when he does that. It's some of my favorite stuff to see. And overall, I thought Swerve's rebuttal of the promo, he won the promo battle tonight.
Yes, Swerve absolutely won the. Oh wait, though there was one line I forgot to mention. I had it marked down, and I think I've screwed myself up by being distracted by my '90s. And I apologize if you said it, but I don't. Did you say the P Diddy line, Puff Daddy line?
No, I did not say that line. No,
I didn't think so. But sometimes I get thinking of the next point and forget and can't hear. It's why I'm not a great host. I'll admit it. Joe says to Swerve. Hold on, I want to get this right, and He's gonna put it in terms a rapper can understand. He's going to beat him down so hard he'll mentally be scarred like he left Puff Daddy's party too late. Well,
Too soon.
That's a oof. So yeah, great end of the show. Overall, mid Dynamite, to be quite honest.
Yeah, it was. I felt like the first hour went by pretty fast. The back half with Jericho stuff and the daddy ass Switchblade match, some of those things kind of dragged on for me a little bit. So it just felt like a show where, on a week full of wrestling and professional wrestling, probably busiest week of the year with whether it's AEW, Independence, WWE, whatever else, it just kind of felt like one of those kind of shows where we know it's a busy week, so we'll kind of do what we can, but we know some of the talent might not be available or might be out. So,
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think you started strong. You started with Copeland, Ospreay, Danielson. Yeah, but then you just hit that lull of Jericho and a too long Switchblade match. And truthfully, because the end wasn't bad. The tag match was good. Mariah May versus Thunder Rosa was good, and the signing was good. But that lull in the middle just slowed it down.
Yeah. And I did like the fact that they put the women's match with basically the main event match.
Yeah.
So I like that they removed it there and really kind of made the the world title important by having it kind of be the featured match. Or at least having the stakes for the match.
Agreed. All right. Well, another quick one for the boys tonight. Joe, we are ending because busy days ahead of me. I don't need to be staying up late.
Busy days.
I have 3 things on my schedule. Actually, I got 4. One's a personal family thing. So, I got 4 things on my schedule coming up. Where can we find you?
Well, besides Wednesday nights here with Ryan and sometimes Kate, usually on Saturdays, Ryan and I will also be usually on for Collider Cast, but we are not doing it this week because it's a pre-taped and tape delayed. So you'll skip out on that. And then I think, are they back next? I think they're back the 13th. And I think it's also Battle of the Belts night. So we have that to look forward to, Ryan.
Fun. All right. Well, when not here, you can find me on all our socials at Mark Order Pod. Please remember, if you go to one of our socials, you can find a link tree to our Pro Wrestling Tees store. You can buy one of 4 shirts. Buy all 4. Buy them in a bunch of different sizes because you don't know how. Maybe you'll eat a bit too much one day. Maybe you'll get in really good shape the next. So buy a bunch. Then also please like and subscribe on all platforms, YouTube, Spotify, all the main ones. Really helps us out. You could find me personally on, like I said, on Mark Order Pod, all our socials, and then my history blog, hereforhistory.com, @_hereforhistory. I released a new article last week, and I had a follow-up this week where I kind of give you my book reviews on what I used. That's pretty much it. I'd like to thank Jesse Ozog, 1LT Photo, Pieces, Wags, Ophelia, Scott George, even though he comes at me so hard. Big G.
You're pulling out the big puns.
Yep. The Pro Wrestling Podcast. Mike Peterson, Mike Kills. I don't know anyone I missed. Lord Kev, who wished us support. Anyone I missed, I apologize. But thank you all for coming. It makes it a lot more fun when you're in the chat and interacting. I saw some X-Men 93 talk. And that was a lot of fun. So again, the show isn't nearly as fun when there's no one in the chat. So thank you all. I'm going to put up our overlay. Then I'm going to play the outro.
This concludes the Mark Order podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join